a new horror film released February 23rd, 2024 called Stopmotion. This movie takes stop-motion animation, which is already creepy in my opinion, and makes it scarier. This movie is bizarre, grotesque, and surreal, even for stop-motion standards. I feel like this is almost a new genre of horror film. At one point, the main character mentions a Red Riding Hood scenario, and this movie is giving very much that. This little angelic-faced child is supposed to be a normal, nosy, annoying neighbor-like character at first. Turns out she could hang with the likes of Damien. This woman's name is Ella, and she is the most interesting character to follow in our story, part because she is the main character, and part because she's batshit crazy. In stop-motion's opening, Ella and her mother are shown working. There's also a snippet of her in the club. Lights flash, and we see another her. It was kinda giving Black Swan, the movie telling us she has another side, other than this reserved, obedient woman she shows most of the time. She works under her mother Suzanne to a scary precision. Suzanne thinks up the stories, and Ella physically moves the figures around. Ella is heavily controlled by Suzanne. It is revealed the mother has arthritis and can no longer move the figures herself, so she sits directly behind Ella as she works and tells her exactly what to do, to the degree and angle. She speaks in an abusive and almost demonic sounding way to her daughter one day while they are working. This is when her illness gets the best of her, and she spends the rest of the movie in the hospital. Her mom no longer home, Ella is now unsure who to listen to. She doesn't know how to do anything else. Her mother is basically a scary Miss Trunchbull. This movie will probably give me nightmares for sure. There is a scene that made me feel uncomfortable literally because of someone's face. These figures are made up of wax and other materials. I can't remember a scary movie I've seen recently that made me this uncomfy. Hereditary is up there, but that is more wallowing, mournful, slow burn type deal, which I do love. This story is a bit faster paced, and like Ari Aster's Hereditary and Midsommar, definitely does something new when it comes to horror. It was perfectly grotesque. The gore absolutely gave House of Wax for me a couple times. I like the scenes of Ella at the party, and I love the scenes that play out actually using stop motion. They were very cool to see and very scary. It's after her mom falls ill that our story picks up greatly. Ella becomes almost obsessed with finishing the film her mom started. She worked under her for a long time, deciding nothing about how the story goes and being scolded if she didn't move the figure to the perfect degree and angle. She tells her boyfriend she is not sure how long it is going to take. As she is working, a little girl, credited in the film as Little Girl, knocks at the door and basically invites herself in. They honestly form a pretty quick sister-like relationship. She not only tells Ella her mom's story is boring, but that she should start a new one. The story of the scared little girl in the woods, lost, being chased by a man, the Ash Man. Night 1, he sees the woman. Night 2, he touches the woman. Night 3, I like how they established that the little girl is a figment of her imagination. I loved the 3 nights factor of the little girl's, aka Ella's, story. It's very fairy tale-esque, and there's a good buildup of deception and insanity in stop motion that pokes and consumes Ella until she has absolutely lost her shit. After the little girl gained Ella's loyalty, Ella was pretty much putty in her hands. A puppet on a string, if you will. Speaking of puppets, Suzanne and Ella have this talk at the hospital. It's a scene that's both scary and reveals information. It's almost as scary for me as the scene in the wardrobe with Ella and the Ash Man. And they're literally just talking. I think it's Suzanne's teeth shining on the screen, yet they're dirty, like her words and the truth she is speaking. She is revealing the full truth about her daughter, to her daughter, mentioning Ella's morbid imagination, how she brings dead things to life, which is exactly what the little girl eventually ends up telling Ella to do to make the models for her film. She goes from wax and other material for their figures to things more morbid like dead dogs or coyotes, and then eventually Ella's own flesh. The mom being completely right, because we know the little girl only exists in Ella's mind. The movie doesn't really ever want you to think she's real either. Ella is the only person who can see the little girl. She is the one who makes up and tells Ella the story of what happens with the lost girl in the woods being chased by the Ash Man on nights 1, 2, and 3. Both of these pieces of the character are important. Ella acts like this little girl is completely separate from her, going from begging the little girl to know what happens next in the story so she can finish her film film to begging the little girl to stop hearing about it. The point of the film is how far Ella is willing to go for some sense of control, for something she created. She feels she needs that. That feeling is pretty much Ella's downfall throughout the film. She didn't feel like she had any voice to speak up to her mom in the beginning. Then after going with the little girl's version of the story instead of her mother's, she tried to speak up and refused the ash man touch the girl in the woods on night 2. But as her mother stated in the hospital, she's just a puppet caught in her own strings. She has absolutely no control, just like the Cyclops who traded his eye to see his future and ended up seeing his own death, the story her mom was working on. He still had no control, even after trying to cheat and reveal the future. I feel the ending of the film ties into that idea. I love the abruptness of the ending as well. It adds to the movie's weirdness. Was the movie scary? Yes, nightmares. The movie also has very subtle moments of discomfort. For example, Ella kills her boyfriend when he and his sister show up to save her from her own disruptive ways. Ella covers his mouth and nose after he is weak from her pushing him down a flight of stairs. The creepy part is Ella's murdering ways were foreshadowed earlier in the film when she playfully squeezed his nose shut when he was asleep and snoring. Are you going to watch it again? Yes. My advice is go see Stopmotion. From the beginning, it does a spectacular job of setting up little scares and spooks from the images of the film they are making being shown on the main character's laptop. I love how this movie opens up very creepily and it does not let up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video and want more like it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more content and give a comment down below. I will see you back here on Film Radar.